With us today is Steven Mezrano. Great to see you with Mezrano Alabama Injury Lawyers. And it was a pleasure to be able to interview you and share your faith story. I know you mentioned your grandfather was really influential as it related to becoming a lawyer. Was he also an influence on your faith?
So I've had both of my grandfathers were very influential as far as my faith goes. My mom's father, I didn't see that much, saw, occasionally during the summer times, and he was the one that always kind of pushed me to go after my dream, to kind of go and pushing me to the route of law. But it was really my dad's father who instilled in me my Catholic faith that I follow. It was him coming home and he would spend the night crawling up in a ball, saying his prayers before he'd fall asleep at night, making sure that every Saturday night we were at church, family togetherness. And so both of them played a huge impact on my spirituality and how I live my Catholic life.
That's awesome. Grandparents are really special. You also shared with us about your brother. One of your brothers had a pretty serious health crisis, and how that brought you together. Was that also one of those faith builder type moments?
So, like growing up, I think with our family and our Lebanese heritage background, family's always been significant. It's always been one of the most important things that you grow up. It's always about family and being with family. And so it was one of those deals where he's 6 years older than me. So we went through phases of where we were together in our relationship, right? So when I start college, he's out of college, but we have something to hang on to. Then he gets married and I'm just in college, right? So it's just like things aren't really kind of meshing, and he has kids, and then all of a sudden I get married, and then I have kids. So we have these separate parts in our lives, but we always shared sports. Alabama football is kind of our thing, and that's our time together. Alabama basketball is our time together. And then he had a heart issue and had to have open heart surgery, and then we got to spend a lot of time together as he was recuperating, and then it just kind of solidified that bond of how we played an important part in each other's lives. And now he's our head operations manager for the law firm, so he joined me and I get to be with him every day. So it really was a blessing in which God put us together. But it was during that process that you really have to put your faith and trust in God. And there's always a saying that they always say, leave it at the foot of the cross. Whatever your stress, whatever your worries are, you leave it at the foot of the cross. And that was one of those times where you just kind of had to give it to God and ask that he had his blessings over the surgeons and for his healing. And then thank God everything came out the way it was. So it was a neat little bonding experience there, but it also got me and him closer in our faith. And we talk now about our faith with each other and things that he does to help his girls so that I can teach my boys, and vice versa, things that I've learned that, hey, this has really helped me. And so we're now sharing those things with each other. And it's very helpful as a dad of 4 to be able to share your faith with somebody. And it's great that it's with my own brother, but to be able to share, like, here are the trials and tribulations that you have, and how do you talk to your kids, and how do you make it about, well, this is what the world's going to do for you, or this is what the world's going to throw at you. The choices you make, all right, but one thing you've got to always keep in mind is, what does your faith tell you? So it's always go back to prayer and discernment and then move forward. And that's been a great blessing that we've been able to share with each other since his heart surgery.
Yeah. Well, and you are the dad of 4.
Yes.
And that was a question I had was, in terms of for other dads out there, do you have advice on, how you build that faith relationship with your kids?
So, there's, it's a struggle. I'll just tell you straight, it's a struggle. I have a lot of great mentors, and so I'm very lucky to have a lot of Catholic priests in my life that are great mentors for me. So Father Mitch Pacwa at EWTN has been huge in talking to me about, you have to be present, right? So whether it's reading books at night, it's the hugs, it's blessing your child at night before they go to bed. Those things are so instrumental to what I do every night with my children. But also in our Catholic faith, the father leads his family. So it's my responsibility to lead my family in prayer every night. So every night we have family prayer, whether we pray the rosary or we play the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and it's my role to show the kids that no matter where we are in life, you have to stop and pause and thank God for the day. And so thanks to Father Pacwa and Father Kelly and my brother and my grandfathers, it's just become one of those deals where they see Dad going to Mass every morning, and now my boys want to get up and go to Mass with me in the mornings. And so it's kind of like one of those, you have to lead and your kids will follow. And that's the most important advice I can give any father is lead and the kids will follow. If they see that you're disengaged, they'll be disengaged. If they see that you're fully into it, they become into it. And so it's just one of those examples that I learned from my grandfather. My own father was that way, and I picked it up because I didn't know why they went every day. So I started going every day because they did. And then now I understand why my father made us kneel on the side of the bed every night and say our prayers. So now it's just coming full circle.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I know in terms of at work, you have actually a coffee cup that usually sits on your desk that helps you kind of remember how to live the day, right?
St. Thomas More, and it's called a lawyer's prayer. Lord, grant that I may be able in argument, accurate in analysis, strict in study, candid with clients, and honest with adversaries. Sit with me at my desk and listen with me to my clients' plains. Read with me in my library and stand beside me in court, so that today I shall not, in order to win a point, lose my soul. And this was given to me by Father Kelly at Our Lady of the Valley.
Oh, wow.
When I started my practice, he brought this to me and said, "This is for you. I want you to read it. You'll figure out why you need to read it." And the first thing I took away from it is never lose your soul. No case is worth losing your soul. No case is worth doing something. So that was kind of my first thought was put God in everything that we do with the firm. So God Family Firm became the motto. So the cup has been there, and then you'll be amazed when you get really aggravated with cases, right? So some of the virtues of patience, not mine, something that you're working on. So this prayer has a lot of the virtues that you want to be able to instill in your life every day. So it's a humble reminder sometimes that you've got to stop and you've got to think. And I love when I ask God to stand with me in a courtroom, because I think that's where I as a lawyer excels, in the courtroom, and it's in that voir dire, and it's in that moment when I'm absolutely a nervous wreck before they bring a jury in, or in a closing argument when you're asking the jury to compensate your client for their injury. I always ask God to be with me. I always will say something, whether it's the Lord's Prayer or just something quickly, to ask Him to clear my mind so that I could speak His truth and speak for my client. And I didn't start doing that until I got this mug, and so now it just sits on my desk every day, and I drink from it. And then I got to the point where I was like, oh, I can't drink from it. I pray that prayer, so I didn't want to mess it up in the dishwasher. But every now and then I'll still drink from it. So now it sits as just like an ornament on my desk.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we're thankful that you have chosen to partner with us as far as to be an advertiser to help us spread good news. And I guess, from your standpoint, what led you to decide to do that?
So it was kind of interesting. For me, it was living the lifestyle that I live, knowing how we want to raise our children. My wife and I have a way that we want our kids to understand their faith in God. And this world has so many temptations that are out there that persuade your kids to go different ways, right? And so one day we were just at the grocery store, and there was the magazine, and we were talking about it. And I go to a group on Wednesday nights called Fraternus, where we take young boys in the Catholic faith, and it's time for boys and dads to be together, where you're trying to raise them to be young men and young men in faith. And so my wife and I were talking about it. I said, I wonder if people really have this image of personal injury lawyers as a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if, people who knew my faith and knew who I was, I could help other people within the faith. And so, or just help other people when something bad happens to them, mm-hmm. they could reach out to us. And so whether it's a prayer together or give them legal advice. And it just was one of those that I did more so out of, I thought it was God's calling than it was anything else to promote the law firm. I just kind of felt like here was a vocation in which I could help people, and whatever happens from that, that's just where it was going to be. But it was more for me to help others that were in need, or if they heard our story, if they saw faith or needed guidance, it was just kind of there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.